Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. We're looking at plastic snap ASMR, why the ending matters. Today, we're going to explore the fascinating neurobiology behind a phenomenon you've probably experienced without even realizing why it feels so incredibly good. We're talking about why tiny ASMR sounds, specifically something as simple as a plastic snap, feel just profoundly satisfying. We'll be diving into the science of sound endings, release moments, and exactly how your brain processes these tiny sensory events. I want you to think about these really tiny, fleeting sensory moments. A lid clicks shut on a container. A piece of Velcro toy fruit separates with this crisp crack. A small plastic capsule pops open. We're talking about moments that literally last for less than a single second. But, if you're someone who responds to ASMR, autonomous sensory meridian response, that fraction of a second, it has a massive impact. It can make an entire sequence of sounds and actions feel incredibly complete and just grounded. So that brings us to the core mystery of this explainer. Why does the ending matter so much? Why isn't it just about the sound itself, but specifically how that sound finishes? Well, as we're going to see from the research, Plastic Snap ASMR is entirely built around endings. It's that tiny finish line at the end of the sound that tells your brain a moment has fully resolved. Without that ending, your brain just kind of keeps waiting. But with it, a really unique type of relaxation can kick in. So really get this, we need to talk about resolution. In the context of ASMR, resolution is the exact moment pressure builds. The object releases, the sound arrives, and the action definitively ends. See, your ear hears the sound, right? But your brain hears the entire event. It remembers the visual setup, it watches the hand apply pressure, and it notes the exact millisecond the action is over. The click isn't just some random noise, it's the final, definitive point in a sequence you can clearly see. Let's actually break down the anatomy of a plastic snap because it always follows this specific rhythm. First, step one, there's the visible buildup of pressure. The hand moves, the plastic bends. Second comes the release, the physical giving way of the material itself. Third, the click arrives, sharp, clear. And fourth, and this is absolutely crucial, the quiet pause that follows. If you rush this part, the magic is totally lost. The most satisfying snaps require this exact, measured pacing so you can properly prepare for and then process that release. And there's some seriously fascinating science backing this all up. In 2010, neuroscientist Carl Friston published some work in Nature Reviews Neuroscience about something called predictive processing. The basic idea is that your brain is essentially a prediction machine. It's constantly, and I mean constantly, guessing what sensory input is coming next. So when you watch a flexible plastic lid bend, your brain is actively predicting that a click is about to happen. Which brings us right to this incredibly simple but really powerful formula. Prediction plus sensory evidence equals satisfaction. Think about it. When that click happens at the exact, precise moment of physical release, your brain's prediction matches the sensory evidence perfectly. Boom. When those two things align, our cognitive uncertainty just drops to zero. And that sudden drop, it doesn't just feel neat. It feels deeply satisfying and is actually actively calming to our nervous system. And this brilliantly illustrates why this matters in a highly measurable way. A 2018 study by Poerio and colleagues in PLOS One found that ASMR responders actually showed a reduced heart rate and improved affect, basically a better mood, while watching ASMR videos. So dropping that sensory uncertainty isn't just some fun mental trick. For a lot of people, it creates a real, measurable, physical calming response. The brain stops tracking the object because the action is fully resolved, and that gives the body permission to physically relax. Now, this is exactly why the quality of the sound is so vital. Just compare a messy sound, one with an unclear ending, to a clean plastic snap. A clean snap has a sharp boundary. It starts suddenly, peaks quickly, and ends quickly. And our brains absolutely love clear boundaries. In a messy sound, your brain has to keep working, trying to figure out if the event is actually over. But with a clean plastic snap, the ending is totally obvious. That sharp, readable boundary acts as a literal signal for your nervous system to stop tracking the object and just let go. If we look at it this way, every crisp ASMR snap tells a tiny story of before and after states. Before, the object is closed. After, it's open. Before, the toy fruit is whole. After, it's separated. The snap essentially acts as the tangible auditory border between those two states. It's the finish line. That boundary is the trigger itself. It transforms a continuous, uncertain present into a resolved, finished past. But, context is absolutely everything for our nervous system. Compare a giant crash with a soft snap. A giant crash demands your attention, right? It's startling and triggers this whole alert response. A soft, clean snap, on the other hand, invites your attention. It feels safe.
This is what we like to call low-stakes satisfaction. Watching a toy carrot being cut with a plastic snap gives your brain a neat, stylized version of cutting, but entirely without the tension, danger, sharp blades, or mess of the real world. It's 100% safe.
And we really can't forget the space between the actions. Sound, silence, sound, silence. I actually want to pause briefly here to emphasize that the quiet pause after a snap, it is not empty space. In ASMR, silence frames the sound. It's what gives your brain the necessary time to actually register the completion we were just talking about. When actions are repeated in this rhythm, your brain learns the pattern, anticipates the release, and the whole structure creates this deeply safe space for your attention to just rest. So, looking at this, the really crucial point for our daily lives is how to use these crisp, real ASMR sounds safely and effectively. Because these triggers are potent, you really should practice safe ASMR. Always start with the volume quiet before that first snap. Make sure to monitor your own shoulder tension. If a sound feels too sharp or bright, especially if you're wearing headphones, just step back. Choose softer triggers like brushing or water sounds instead. And please remember, ASMR is a complementary wellness tool. It is definitely not a replacement for medical care or therapy for sleep and anxiety disorders. Actually, I want you to actively notice your physical reaction the next time you hear one of these sounds. Really check in with yourself. Do your shoulders soften or do you find yourself bracing? ASMR responses are highly personal. What works for one person might do absolutely nothing for another. Research by Fredborg, Clark, and Smith highlights that individual differences in sensory experience mean a crisp plastic click might deeply relax you, or, honestly, it might just irritate you. So always listen to your body's signals first and foremost. To bring this all together, the core takeaway is simply this. The absolute smallest sound can feel complete, as long as it's structured right. Plastic Snap ASMR is about way more than just the click itself. The visual buildup gives your attention a specific path to follow. The crisp snap gives that path a definitive finish. And the silence that follows, well, that gives your body the exact moment it needs to settle and finally drop its uncertainty. It is just a brilliant quirk of human neurobiology that such tiny, fleeting moments can offer us such genuine relief. So I'm going to leave you with this final thought to consider. Which plastic snap is most satisfying to your brain? Is it the separation of a toy fruit, the closing of container lids, or maybe just tiny, precise capsule clicks? I highly encourage you to safely tune into your own sensory responses, pay close attention to those endings, and continue exploring the amazing science of sound. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer.